2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 8 and 9. Always believe in giving you a disclaimer before there are tough messages. There's a disclaimer to this message. This message will hit you upside the head. Great thing about it is, before it hit you upside your head, it hit me upside mine. So I don't mind sharing with you the pain of the experience. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 8 and 9, there you find these words recorded. Concerning this thing, I pleaded with the Lord 3 times that it might depart from me. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly, I would rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. If you don't mind, I want to preach from this thought or this theme. What if he doesn't deliver you? What if he doesn't deliver you? Is that all right? I'm going to try to preach this. Ushers, you might need to get some tissue available for all of us. Where does your loyalty lay? We are more loyal to our teams than we are to Christ. Told you we got some Tampa Bay Buccaneer jerseys, some Dallas jerseys. And then I looked over here and we got some Detroit Lions jerseys. Faithful to our teams, and they ain't got a chance to win the Super Bowl. They didn't win last year. Chad, they didn't win the year before that. I don't want mind prophesying to y'all this morning. They're not going to win next year. But where does your loyalty lay? What if God doesn't deliver you? Can you still be loyal to him? What if he does not answer the prayer that you are praying the way you want him to answer it? Can you still be loyal to him? We have gotten so good at praying, Lord, deliver me. Lord, order my steps. Lord, remove the mountain. But we failed to say, Lord, give me the strength for whatever you have for me. See, y'all don't want to shout. Y'all, that's as much shouting as y'all going to get in this message. We are so good at asking God to move things out of the way, so good at asking God for us to not to go through it. But what if it is God's plan to develop us through some trials and tribulations? Where does your loyalty lay? And before you think that I am not preaching from experience, let me help you out. With my grandma, with my mom, I've asked God, Lord, don't let them die. Fasted, didn't eat. Got in the Word, tried to find scripture and said, Lord, don't let them die. And God still allowed them to die. Why? Because it was not about me, it was about them. And their journey was over down here. Doesn't mean I didn't ask God the question, why though? So what if he doesn't deliver you? Y'all ready? Some things down here are going to fail. Some things down here are going to fail. You hear people always talking about how God can turn things around, and God can turn things around. But you do also know God will let some things fail in our life, especially when those things have become little gods in our lives. He will let some things walk away. He'll let some things die. He'll let some things you allow to put all your energy in it, and it still fail. And it does not mean you are not saved. It means that you are in here for a purpose. And that's the hardest thing to realize. You mean to tell me, God, that I can have a purpose and still go through failure? And God says, yes, because through failure, you ought to learn more about me. There are some lessons you cannot learn on the mountaintop. You can only learn them in the valley. And some of us have gotten so good at mountaintop experiences that you think you live up there. But let me help you out. We reside somewhere between the mountaintop and the valley, and we got to travel life going up and down. But God said, I will be with you. Some things down here fail. Listen. You can pray all day long that God save your marriage, and it might not work out. I'm not telling you about something I read in the book. I got 2 divorces on my record, and pray that both of them not go that way. But God says, listen, it ain't about that. And let me help y'all out. You do realize He can't trust everybody with divorce. He can't trust everybody with divorce. Some of y'all would get divorced and become buck wild. Some of y'all would lose your mind. Some of y'all would get divorced on Monday and sleep with everybody in your neighborhood on Tuesday. So He can't trust everybody. Everybody can't be trusted with cancer. Some of y'all would get a cancer diagnosis at 2 o'clock and shoot your brains out by 3 o'clock. And God said, I can't trust you with that, so I can't allow that in your life. God gives His hardest task to His toughest soldiers. But let me help you out. All of y'all got to be tough soldiers. Some things don't work out down here. But my buddy Bishop said something yesterday at lunch. Boy, I love it. I told him it's going to be in my message. We have got to learn how just to go to sleep. Look to your neighbor and say, neighbor, just go to sleep. Let me help you out. If your man is cheating, you staying up late at night ain't going to keep him from cheating. Just go to sleep. If you already packed his bags and you got it on the porch, you are a fool to lose a night of sleep when this stuff is already on the porch. Just go to sleep. No matter what you do, there are some folk who going to still be crazy, and you got to learn how to turn them over to God and lay your head on the pillow and say, Lord, I am resting in you. Just go to sleep. Quit staying up late worrying about crazy kids. Go to sleep. Learn how to pray and learn how to lay your head down and go to sleep. When you walk your house, if Johnny and Little Junior done snuck out, lock the window. Go back to your room and go to sleep. If they sleep on the porch that night, they going to learn something that night. But you staying up late at night ain't worrying nobody but yourself, and you going to die early, and little Johnny still going to be crazy. Just go to sleep. You got a fussy wife? Let me help you out. Roll over. Go to sleep. Mid-argument. Go to sleep. It is hard to argue by yourself. And if she does, you know something from that. She crazy. Go to sleep. If so-and-so told you you got to get out, go to sleep. If they want you out, they know how to pack your stuff. Go to sleep. Stop worrying about stuff you have no control over. What if He doesn't deliver you? Lord, I got this doctor's appointment on Tuesday, and the doctor said it might be this. Lord, please don't let it be this. Please don't let it be this. Please don't let it be this. Oh, I got my fingers crossed. Please don't let it be this. I'm going into the appointment. What if it's this? Can you still deal with God when it's this? Anybody can deal with God when everything is great and everything is wonderful. Can you still be with God? Can you still deal with God when all hell breaks loose? Can you deal with God when your heart is broken, when you got tears in your eyes? Let me help you out. There is a worship that y'all have that other folks don't have. Some of y'all got a sometime worship. I worship God sometimes when everything is good, but I need some folk that can worship God anytime and all time, no matter what the news is. I will bless the Lord at all times, and his praises shall continually be in my mouth. What does that mean? Good news or bad news, my worship is for real, and it is not contingent on the x-ray coming out negative. If the x-ray come out positive, I still gotta praise. I read, here's what Paul said. Y'all ready for your Sunday school lesson? Paul said, I could boast about a whole lot of stuff. And y'all would think I was crazy if I boasted about everything God has done for me. And y'all would think I was puffing myself up. But I don't want to puff myself up because I want y'all to see God. And so here's what God did to me. God gave me an infirmity so that I would never get the big head down here. And he said, I asked God 3 times. I said, Lord, remove it. I said, Lord, order my steps so I won't walk in it. I said, Lord, deliver me. And God said, no. What if the answer is no? What if God answers no? I'm not going to heal you down here. I'm not going to heal mama down here. I'm not going to save the marriage down here. I'm not going to keep you all healthy and well down here. What if the answer is no? Can you still be okay? Can you still be loyal with God when the answer is no? You see, here's where we find out if people really love us. Say no. That's when you know, do you love me or do you love my stuff? When I answer no, that's when I find out where your real loyalty is. And God said, I've been trying to find that out about y'all. So I said no to see, did you love me or did you love my stuff? So Paul says, I didn't pray one time. I prayed 3 different times. I prayed 3 different times. I prayed 3 different ways. I prayed in English, Spanish, Hebrew. I prayed in the tongue. I prayed in the flesh. I prayed in the spirit. I prayed every way that there was to pray. And God came back and said, no. I even told God how much my affliction hurt me. I said, Lord, it's painful. And God still said no. I said, Lord, but it's uncomfortable having my affliction. And God still said no. I said, but Lord, don't you know everybody else know I got this affliction? And God still said no. And what happens when God says no, even when you plead your case? This is where the real believer says, thank you. Y'all missed that. After the no is when the real believer says, thank you. See, you infants say, I want a second opinion. God, you said no. I want to talk to somebody else. And I need to talk to about 10 of y'all to let y'all know that when he say no, that's a loud word. There is no second opinion when he says no. There is no appeal process when he says no. That's the final answer. But can you accept his final answer? When you say, Lord, I need mama to get out of this hospital bed. You did it before. Do it one more time for me. Because I need her on this side. I need her to get back up. I need to take her to lunch. I need to have another conversation with her. I need to spend more time with her. And God comes back and says, no. Can you say thank you after the no? It ain't easy. I didn't say it was an emphatic thank you. I didn't say it was a thank you with a smile on your face. But it's just got to be thank you. And some of you got to understand that a thank you, even with tears in your eyes, is still music to God's ears. Who preached Terrell DeMond Davis? A thank you, even when you're shaking your head saying, no, it's still tear to the music to God's ears. Why? Because God said, now they're able to accept my decision. He says, Lord, I need you to move this. And God says, no. He says, my grace. He says, no, but he says, my grace. He says, I'm not going to answer your prayer, but I'm going to give you my grace. He says, I'm not going to let mama get up. I'm not going to let daddy get up. I'm not going to let grandma give up, but I am going to give you my grace. Now, this is where we got to learn how to shout at. He said, my grace is, that word sufficient. I know y'all don't know what it means. It means enough. He says, I know what you're praying for, but what I'm going to give you is better than what you're praying for. He said, I'm going to give you my grace. And that is enough for whatever you are going through, and it is more than what you are praying for. He said, instead of getting her up, I'm going to give you my grace. And he said, this is what my grace is. My grace is strength when you are weak. And that's all you need to know. My grace makes up for your lack. What if he doesn't deliver you? Paul said, I prayed 3 times. Some of y'all can testify you prayed 10 times. 3 is the number of completion. That means he prayed enough. He couldn't pray about it no more. And God's answer was still no. But he says, I'm gonna give you my grace. I know some of y'all looking at God saying, Lord, I didn't ask for your grace. Can we be real? You know what you really said, Lord, I don't want your little funky grace. I want mama. I didn't ask for grace. Grace is what saved me. I'm already saved. I don't want no grace. I want mama. I want daddy. I want sister. I want brother. And God said, but you don't understand what grace is. But you say, well, I've defined it as God's unmerited favor towards us. And God said, no. You don't understand what grace is. Grace is more than just my favor. He says, grace is my son. Boy, preach up in here. He says, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my only begotten son, and that is enough. But Lord, I didn't ask for Jesus. I didn't ask for nothing else but one thing. I asked for them to get up out of the bed. And God said, but if I give you Jesus, whether they get out of the bed or not, you got enough, right? Right there. Now let me give you something to shout about. Y'all ready? Get close. Y'all know there was an old man, and he had a granddaughter, and his granddaughter was taking care of her grandpa. And y'all know how we get old. And let me help all y'all out. Before y'all get old, y'all need to designate who's gonna take care of y'all. Before you get old, don't wait until you get old and try to work it out. You designate who's going to take care of you before you get old. All right? And so I've already told T, you're going to take care of me when I get old. But I put a caveat in there. I told Cameron, your job is to check him to make sure he's taking care of me. And if not, come get me. Don't let me sit up in my mess. Make sure he's taking care of me. And in fact, Cameron, I'm going to leave you more money than I leave T just in case he don't take care of me. Y'all get that later on. So this granddaughter had grandpa, and she moved it in her home, and grandpa was getting at that old feeble age, and y'all know how we get when we get old and feeble and get in our ways, and y'all know how young people will talk to us like we ain't got no sense. And the granddaughter had just had a baby, so now this is his great grandchild, and the daughter said, granddaughter said, Dad, Grandpa, I'm put this baby in this baby pen, and I'm going to let him play. And I've been reading books, and in all the books it says that if he cry, don't pick him up, just let him cry. And the old man said yes. And the old man was watching TV, watching them old westerns. Y'all know how we get watching them old westerns. He watching them old westerns, and the baby started crying. That old man looked over there, and he walked over to the playpen, and the granddaughter came out. She says, Dad, Grandpa, I told you, don't mess with that baby. Let the baby cry. Just ignore the baby and watch your TV. I'm in here cooking your dinner. Just let the baby cry. The old man go back to in front of the TV, turns the old western on a little bit more, and he's watching the old western. That baby started crying a little bit more, and the old man get up there, and he got to go see about that baby one more time. The granddaughter come out and said, I told you, Grandpa, leave the baby alone. Just let him cry. I'm trying to teach him how to be independent. Just let him cry. And the old man said, yes. She said, go back in there and watch TV and just let the baby cry. I told you, don't pull that baby out the playpen. And Grandpa said, all right. Grandpa went back, and he was watching that western one more time. And the western got real good. It got real intense. And you know how he is in TV. You get real intense. You lean up, but that baby started crying even more, even louder, and screaming and wailing, and it got to be too much. And Grandpa got back up, went back over there, and all of a sudden there was silence in the room, and the granddaughter was in that kitchen cooking, and she said, it usually takes the baby about 45 minutes to stop crying. I got to go see what happened. I bet you my grandpa then pulled that baby out. And she called on the phone with her friend telling her, if he didn't did that, I'm taking him back to the old folks home because I told him to leave that baby alone. And she's storming out of the kitchen, and what does she find? She finds the old man sitting in the playpen, and she looks at him and say, Grandpa, didn't I tell you to leave that baby alone? And didn't I tell you not to take the baby out? And the grandpa said, you said I couldn't take the baby out the pen. You never said I couldn't get in with the baby. I wish I had somebody that if God doesn't answer it, if God doesn't deliver me, is there anybody here that know that you know when God says, I'm going to give you grace, that's Jesus. And Jesus can't stand for you to be in trouble. He can't stand for you to be hurt. And so Jesus says, Father, I can't pull them out, but one thing I can get in there with them. Is there anybody here ever had the Lord get in your situation right there with you? Won't he make cancer a whole lot bearable? Won't he make a breakup a whole lot better? Is there anybody here ever had grace show up right on time? Won't it soothe your pain? Won't it wipe away your tears? Is there anybody here that know how to pray? Lord, if you don't deliver me, Lord, if you don't move the mountain, Lord, if you don't order my steps, can you at least get in here with me? Right on, King Jesus. No man can I hinder you. I wish I had somebody that know that you know that the Lord will walk with you and talk with you and tell you you're his very own. Is there anybody here that can testify? I had to go through hell, but I wasn't by myself. Had to cry, but I wasn't by myself. Had to weep, but I wasn't by myself. Because grace, God's grace, amazing grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch. If he doesn't deliver you, but he gives you grace, that is sufficient. I dare you to tell depression, I got grace. It'll run away from you every time. I dare you to tell loneliness, I got grace. It'll run away every time. I dare you to tell the enemy, I got grace. Because the enemy knows at that name. I wish I could say that every time you pray for your marriage, it's going to work out. But sometimes it ain't going to work out because you chose wrong up front. Sometimes it ain't going to work out because he was trying to kill you. You just didn't know it. But he still says, I'll give you grace. Doesn't mean they ain't going to talk about you at the beauty salon. It just means you're going to make it through that. Ooh, y'all missed that. Grace don't mean they ain't going to laugh at you. It just means you're going to survive whatever it is. Grace don't mean you ain't going to walk past a casket. It just means you're going to be able to walk out the sanctuary, out the view in the casket. That's what grace can do. And we've got to mature to a place that, Lord, if you don't move the mountain, that's all right. If you don't deliver me in the middle of the battle, that's all right. If you don't order my steps that I go around the situation, that's all right. Just show up. Show up in my situation. Somebody say, when Jesus is in a boat, you can smile in a storm. I know it's a little kid song, but y'all got to get adults need to understand that. As long as I got Jesus in the boat, whatever happened ain't going to mess with the boat because of who's inside the boat. So Paul says, I prayed, I pleaded with God, I begged God, remove it. Remove the cancer. Remove the divorce. Remove the bankruptcy. Remove the job situation. Remove it. And God said no. Said my grace is sufficient. And we've got to learn how to be able to receive God's answer when it's a soft answer. He ain't got to yell my grace. He just got to whisper my grace. But when I hear my grace, I know I got my Jesus. Sufficient. I don't know who I'm talking to this morning. I don't know who's going through what you're going through, but God sent me here to give you this message. His grace is sufficient. Didn't say you wasn't going to cry, but his grace is sufficient. I dare you just to receive that. To receive that, Lord, I thank you for your grace. Some of y'all had to run to the hospital because kids got sick. Some of y'all had to run to the hospital because parents got sick. How did you get there? It was his grace. Why haven't you lost your mind? His grace. Ooh, I wish I had some real folk that can wave at me and say, I should be crazy, but his grace. I would have lost everything, but his grace. I was ready to throw in the towel, y'all, but his grace. That's when you can shout no matter what. When you realize his grace never runs out. And his grace is sufficient for whatever the situation is. So what can separate you from the Lord? Nothing. Committed to him. Some of y'all can testify. You done lost everything you could lose just about still. Committed to him. Had to walk through some fire. Had to walk through some lonely days, but committed to him. And this is my last thing. How many of y'all can shout and say, what I thought was going to kill me just made me stronger? I need to talk to some real folk that can say that. You thought you wasn't going to make it, but now you can look back over your life and say, God, thank you for your grace. Thought I was going to die and get in a casket with my grandma. But grace showed up right in time. Thought I was going to die and get in the casket with my mother, but grace showed up right on time. Thought I was going to die and get in the casket with my father, but grace showed up right on time. It wasn't my goodness. It wasn't my strength. It was God's grace. That's how I'm able to stand still in my right mind. It's God's grace. Wherever you're at around this sanctuary, if you know you've been struggling, if you know you've been battling, we offer you a chance to pray with us this morning. I've got some wonderful deacons who are ready to pray with you. There's some folk up in here, you've been wrestling with some stuff, and this word has been speaking to you. Don't stay where you at. Meet them at the altar. As we stand all over the sanctuary, meet us at the altar. You know your battle, and you know you got the bad test result. You know you got cancer. You know you got whatever it is. You're dealing with death. But this morning you're going to say, Lord, I just want your grace. I know you didn't answer me like I thought you were going to answer me. And Lord, now I know that your grace is still sufficient. Wherever you at, come on, meet us in the saints. Meet us down here at the altar. You ain't got to wait on nobody else. Come on.